Today, we're going to dig into a pretty wild story. It's about garbage, it's about geopolitics, and it's about a clever bit of tech that's turning a huge crisis into actual cash. It's all about how a cross-border fight over trash forced an entire industry to get smart, like really smart. So let's see how we get from a trash war to what some are calling digital gold. So let's start with a number that's kind of hard to wrap your head around. 3.46 million tons. That's how much solid waste Michigan imported from Canada in just one single year. To put that into perspective, just try to picture a constant, never-ending river of garbage flowing south across the border every single day.
And as you can probably guess, that river of trash created a whole lot of political tension. This quote here from Ruba Ghazali, a member of Quebec's parliament, really just captures the mood perfectly. You know, what started as a simple, profitable deal for everyone involved slowly spiraled into a serious point of conflict.
Which brings us to our first section, a full-on North American trash war. And no, this isn't a war fought with armies. The weapons here are things like tariffs, regulations, and a whole lot of political pressure, all focused on, you guessed it, truckloads of garbage.
So how did we even get here? Well, the root of the problem has been brewing for decades. See, Ontario is a massive economic hub, and it was simply running out of places to put all its trash. Meanwhile, right next door, Michigan had these huge and, importantly, cheap landfills. For a long time, it was just the path of least resistance.
And the scale of this whole thing is just staggering. Canadian garbage made up almost 15% of all the waste being buried in Michigan. This wasn't some small side deal. It became a fundamental part of the entire region's waste management system.
And then the whole relationship just shattered. In early 2025, the U.S. government decided to weaponize this dependency. They slapped a huge 25% tariff on Canadian imports and suddenly decided that garbage was a taxable good. Ontario, of course, threatened to hit back by cutting off energy exports. There was a whole Supreme Court fight that actually struck down the first tariff, but the U.S. just pivoted and found a new way to tax the trash. Just like that, the border became a financial minefield.
So, this geopolitical shockwave sent massive tremors back into Canada, and it pushed a system that was already strained right to its breaking point. Let's take a look at just how deep Ontario's landfill crisis got.
With that American escape hatch basically slammed shut, Ontario found itself staring over a waste cliff. Projections showed that without being able to export trash, the province's own landfills would be completely full in about a decade, maybe even as soon as 2029. This was no longer just some inconvenience. It was a logistical nightmare with a very real, very hard deadline.
And as if an unreliable border wasn't enough, Ontario's own government decided to add another layer of pressure. They rolled out this thing called CIRCL. It's basically a new tax that punishes companies for sending mixed waste to landfills. We're talking a $60 per ton fee designed to force companies to get creative and to do it fast.
So here's the crucial point. The old way of doing business was completely shattered. Relying on U.S. landfills went from being a simple cost to a massive liability. A totally new mandate emerged for these waste companies. You have to find a way to process waste at home, you have to prove you're diverting it from landfills, and you have to do it all profitably enough to survive these new taxes.
But you know, it's often in the middle of a perfect storm like this, with all this political and economic pressure, that a really new solution emerges. And this is where innovation, born right out of the crisis, comes into the picture with an idea called the digital refinery.
This quote just nails the fundamental shift in thinking that happened. A company called 905 Wood decided to stop treating waste like garbage. Instead, they started treating it like data. They weren't just a trucking company anymore. They were really a technology company that just happened to own some trucks.
Their whole concept is this digital refinery. The idea is that construction waste, especially wood, isn't just useless junk. It's more like crude oil, a raw material that's filled with impurities, but also has incredible value hidden inside. The challenge isn't just to move it, it's to analyze it, purify it, and refine it. So, you might be asking yourself, how do you actually refine a pile of broken 2x4s? Well, it's not with some big physical filter. It's with a really sophisticated AI system that acts as the brain of the whole operation. It all comes down to what they call explainable compliance. Here's how it works. First, Google's Gemini AI acts as the eyes, visually identifying the type and quality of the wood. Then, the system instantly zips through a database of environmental laws to find the exact rule that applies. And finally, and this is the really clever part, it automatically cites the specific legal text, creating a decision that isn't just fast, it's completely audit-proof.
You can think of it like an AI dream team. You've got Google Gemini acting as the eyes, identifying and classifying everything.
Then there's Google's AlloyDB AI, which is like the memory, running super fast searches for any contaminants. And finally, you've got Anthropic's Claude Opus as the legal brain. Its huge context window means it can basically read and understand the entire super complex library of regulations all at once without losing track of anything.
And this right here is the key to making it all trustworthy. Every single decision gets logged, creating a perfect audit trail. So if a regulator ever questions a decision from 6 months ago, the system can show them the exact AI model that was used, the data it saw, and the specific version of the law it cited at that precise moment. It's like a data time machine for compliance.
Now, this level of verifiable data does a lot more than just keep you compliant. It unlocks entirely new financial value. This is how it turns waste into digital gold.
To really get the financial impact, just look at a typical invoice under these new rules. For a load of mixed waste, that new government CIRCIL levy can make up a staggering 60% of the total cost of disposal. That is a massive new pain point for the entire construction industry.
But remember those audit-proof certificates from the digital refinery? Well, by digitally proving that the wood was diverted to a proper recycling facility instead of a landfill, that entire $60 per ton levy just vanishes. It drops to zero. And suddenly, the company's most valuable product isn't hauling wood anymore. It's selling certainty, the verifiable proof that helps its clients avoid a huge tax bill.
But the system doesn't just eliminate a cost. It actually creates a brand new revenue stream. See, when that clean wood is converted into a stable substance called biochar, it permanently locks away carbon. This act of carbon removal generates a tradable financial asset, a carbon dioxide removal certificate, or a CORC. So for every ton of dry wood, the system can generate credits equal to about 3/4 of a ton of CO2.
And that is a fundamental shift. The waste is no longer a liability you have to pay to bury. It's a valuable feedstock for the new carbon economy. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? If data and AI can turn a pile of splintered wood into a financial asset, what other waste in our world is just waiting to be refined?